this is probably going to be brief because I started to do this a couple of days ago when the enthusiasm was high, but right now the enthusiasm is waned, but I do want to get this out. So here we go. I was thinking about marriage, right? Especially marriage as I saw it when I was a kid. And have in mind that my parents weren't rich. Okay, they were poor people for the most part, salt of the earth, as we say, working class people. But the marriage that I saw and the marriages that I saw around me from the other kids, whose house you visited or you saw them interact with their parents and stuff like that. And as you grew up, marriage really until I said the 1980s basically was about black men and women coming together, not only doing their roles and doing their duties, but also being flexible enough to make things work. Because at the end of the day, did the family work? Did you make it to the next week, the next day, the next month, the next year? And how did you facilitate doing that? So were there guides as far as duties about who did what? Yeah. Was there hard-coded lines about who did what? The answer is probably no. Whatever was missing, the other parent filled in. And when the parents couldn't do it, they pushed the kids to fill in the gaps. Do believe it was the same thing on the farm. That comes from the country, the farm, okay? If a job needed to be done, the job needed to be done. It doesn't matter who's doing it. If mama's not there to work, not there to feed or cook, and the kids are hungry, pops has to come in and feed the kids and do the best he can as far as clean, making sure the kids get baths, make sure they get clean, make sure that there's food on the table, whatever needed to be done at the time to keep the family going. If the bills were behind, mom had to go to work. Mom had to go to work. Mom had to do an 8-hour shift, a 10-hour shift, or whatever she had to do. Sometimes my mother even did double shift, did 2 jobs. That's the way things were. That's the way things happen. And were there disagreements and fights or whatever you want to call it? Yeah. But at the end of the day, did the family get moved forward? And that's the thing. Okay, it was a marriage. It was a true partnership. It was a true joining. So, fast forward to me looking at people, millennials that are in their 30s, that are my daughter's age. Like my daughter's in the danger zone. Yeah, she is. She's 32. So she's in the danger zone. And like most women that are in that danger zone, especially, they think they have infinite time. They think they can still do what they did in their teens and their 20s. I was playing around, dating, serial daters, as they say, looking at the career. But the only difference is that I know my daughter has older women in this family talking to her ass on a daily basis. They have older men like me talking to her on a daily basis, trying to get her mind right. But when a woman gets in her mid-20s and into her 30s, they're already set about the pattern, their thinking patterns. There's not much you can influence. You can give them ideas, but the thing is that what they want for their life is pretty much set. And I can tell you the modern woman, basically, for the most part, probably won't get married. One, because there's less of a need to do it in their minds, because women don't think about 50 or 60. Women think about, say, my daughter's 32, she's thinking about 33 or 35 at best. She's not thinking about 40, 50, 60. All she's thinking about is the next year. And I think this is common throughout all women. We can see them lined up on Kevin Samuels' videos, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, with the same mentality that's been drilled into their head, not only by school and the government, which is policies they set out, but also by the environment, the work environment. I was looking at the movie that Dr. Johnson was talking about, Their Eyes Were Watching God, and the lead character, Janie, that wanted to be independent, that really wanted to go on an adventure. They really wanted to go from place to place to place and wander, right? Okay. Back then, at the turn of the 20th century, there's no way in hell she could actually do that. Ain't no way she could wander from place to place to place on her own, okay? It's too dangerous. She's a woman. A whole lot of stuff is going to happen to her, right? She's not strong enough. She's not able enough, and she's too vulnerable to do that kind of stuff. Only men could do that. Only a man could do that. So guess what? If she wanted adventure, she had to do it through a man. She had to find somebody like Tea-Cake to take her on that adventure from place to place to place to place to place, right? She couldn't do it on her own. She would never survive. Fast forward to the turn of the 21st century, where we are now, the beginning of the 21st century. Okay, a single woman, even though it can be difficult for her to go from place to place to place to place, or have adventure, or have channel her life or guide her own life, might be more difficult than it is for a man, but it's not impossible like it used to be. Does she need a man for a better life? Yes, probably. But does she need a man to actually have a life? No, she doesn't. And so what the life that my mother lived coming up is vastly different from the life that her granddaughter lives coming up. So I think that what's going on now is not just training, which I do believe was a real big thing. How come men don't want to get married to women? Is training, but secondarily is the environment. You don't have to get married. You don't have to have kids. You don't have to depend on another person that's in your immediate circle, right? In your immediate household. It's not as necessary. And probably going forward, it'll probably be less necessary because automation and machines will take that place of monitoring. Okay. You don't have to be isolated, really, really isolated, at least mentally. Even emotionally, you don't have to be isolated because you have the internet. Hell, I've been a monk for 7 years, right? And other than physical, half the time I never have to go out of the house because I have a multitude of people to interact with and talk to. Okay, multitude of people, exchange ideas, exchange viewpoints, share stories. Sometimes I talk to 20 people a day, which, in my work environment, that was a given. In my work environment, I'm probably atypical of most people's working environment, right? Most people's work environment, they may say hello to maybe 5 to 10 people, right? I know my work environment, I had to say hello to like 50 every day, at least 50. I have to say hello to, interact with on a daily basis, at least 50. So, and this is over a number of years, I would say anywhere from 15 to 20 years where I had to say hello to numerous people every day, meet and greet, exchange ideas. And I knew their personal lives, or at least, just in the workplace, 50, 60 people. So my experience is probably atypical of most people. But I'm saying that coming from that, and coming to this experience, of getting the same experience via the web, via the internet, via social media. I'm getting the same kind of interaction, the same kind of, and basically in me being a Sigma for the most part, it could be even more. Just I'm the gatekeeper of me being a Sigma, of me getting too involved. We're saying that even that, I interact with sometimes 10, 15, 20 people a day. So the feeling and the emotional feeling of isolation is not there. So basically, then this is stuff that's going forward. I think COVID-19 has kind of slowed that progress to where people now realize they need each other more than they thought. So I'm saying this, all that to say this, is that emphasizing marriage, emphasizing what we think of as marriage, even reminiscing about what we thought of what marriage used to be. Seeing it over, I would say myself, 3-4 generations, grandparents, with your mother, with your parents, with you, and now with your children. Seeing this over 4 generations, man, it's like you start to notice the differences between what I call marriage 1.0 versus 2.0. That's how come women want to be so-called partners, right? We just talked about that the other day, about women wanting to be partners and not wives. Even if you hear so-called relationship coaches, right? You hear relationship coaches nowadays. They never talk about roles anymore, right? They never talk about your husband or your wife. It's always your partner. I know some of that came in the LGBTQ talk, right? Where to accommodate everybody, no matter if you're straight, gay, or lesbian, it was always about your partner. And I think that partnership role is being overemphasized. Because at the end of the day, nobody knows what a partner means. And because you have a partner, if you have a partner, it's a partnership, you don't even really need a marriage. And I think that's where we're headed. I think that this liberation and the use of the language just in partnership is dissolving marriage. Because most guys have said, if I got to be a partner, why do I need a wife? I can get a partnership without a marriage. I can get a partnership without legally binding myself to the state. I can get a partnership without all that other stuff. Hell, I can get a partnership without living with you. That's why we have this co-parenting. There is no, I don't think there is any more household formation. And that's the issue. I think that's the issue with marriage. I think that's the issue with male-female relationships, because we grow up trained to expect one thing, and reality is, and the environment is giving us something different. And basically, human beings don't do very well with rapid change. Humans don't do very well with being trained or socialized for one thing and then have to face another thing. And I think a lot of what we see as far as marriage and relationships is just simply anxiety. What we believe, what we accept, what our worldview is, and what the reality is. Even down to something as far as trite as tricking. Okay, tricking and prostitution and buying pussy has been around for eons, right? Eons. We go trace that shit all the way back to 100,000 years, right? And no society made it where it was looked down upon, at least as far as even buying it or interacting with that. It was just a normal part of life. But in this modern society, and I think this feminist society, because it was feminists that got rid of, especially in America, got rid of most of prostitution and alcohol at the same time in the 1920s with prohibition, because their husbands would get drunk, go to the bar, go to the whorehouse, and then come home, and a lot of their money was missing. The women had to work with the budget that was left over after their husbands, got their jollies off, because there was a difference between family and having sex or having recreational sex. So the women wanted all the money and they wanted all the man's attention. So they put a restriction on the men by getting rid of the whorehouses and getting rid of the alcohol and getting the vote at the same time. That's the first thing the women did when they got the vote in the 1920s, right? First thing they did, got rid of alcohol and whorehouses. Talk about efficiency. But anyway, we changed what the meaning of marriage, what the meaning of how we relate to sex, and all that kind of stuff has actually really radically changed over the last 50 years. And I'm saying that we should change back. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong about tricking, prostitution, whatever it is. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. What I'm saying is we need to think about this. We need to think about this in context, because a lot of things we think about is built in stone, like marriage formation, family formation, all that kind of stuff, is not ordained from God. Basically, it is a practical organization according to the environment that you're in. And at some point, we're going to have to get back to that, because this in the modern era, with all this technology, we're going to have to really bear down and really focus about what this means and how this stuff plays out. But anyway, I've gone on long enough. I hear my third grade class bell ringing. I need to go sit in on my third grade class. I'm in third grade again. Oh, joy. But it's BGS out, and I'll check you guys later. Peace.